This presentation will help you write essay number 5. It's your comparison contrast. You've had some experience with this with essay number 4 because you had to decide on an alternating points outline or a block style. Maybe you weren't aware that you were doing that, but you actually were. You have 500 to 700 words, and you have to be careful because writing those words means you're putting together a 300-point essay. That's 30% of your grade. You also have to be careful with the due dates. The rough draft is due on Saturday, week 5, final version, due Saturday on week 6. The lockbox for the Dropbox, it's going to lock at midnight. You get no points or feedback after midnight on Saturday of this week. So keep that in mind. It's only 5 points, so it's not going to probably affect your grade in 99% of the cases, but you won't get the feedback after that deadline. That's a firm deadline. I'm not going to make exceptions. If your internet goes out, etc., etc., you're only going to lose 5 points. But I can't make exceptions because I don't know which ones are real and which ones aren't. You don't want to turn in the real version, week 6, late because that's 30 points per day because it's a 300-point essay. Now you have 13 different options, and I'll just point out a few of them. The families is very popular, and people get a feel for family life, say in the 1950s versus today if they watch a show like Modern Family, maybe. You know, something quite different from the mother, father, 3 kids, and mother stayed home type of model. A lot of people like sports. They like to write about safety equipment, rule changes, things like that. But you have to know about these topics because you can't plagiarize. Cars, how are they different? Phones, that's a good one. People like that because you can easily think of the very basic home phone that you were tied to. You couldn't walk around with it in the 1950s versus the smartphone today. Similarly, maps versus GPS is a popular choice. Magazines and newspapers, reading them in print versus the online and so many different versions. Shopping malls in downtown areas. If you compare that to online, that can work out. You could do shopping malls versus downtown areas, or you could do shopping malls with including downtown areas compared to online. Fashion, this is the one where people like to do the different decades and do multiple decades. It quite often works out well because there's a historical thing going on with the hemlines and the colors, for example. Breakfasts and food choices, think of this as being the whole dining experience. Does the family sit down and get together, or is it a protein bar as you're opening up the car door to drive off? Toys and games is another popular one for people. Presidential campaigns, only write about that if you're familiar. If you know a little bit about history and how they used to take trains versus the way Obama was tweeting and, using Facebook compared to Romney. Again, be careful with the plagiarism. You have to get right to the significant issue. It's not important that 2 things are alike and they're different because that's going to be true of just about anything. It's more important of how this significance has caused our society to evolve. Yes, we know that GPS is different from a map, but what's the real issues here? Which one is safer, for example? That's a significant issue. Which one is more expensive? That's a significant issue. It's not just that they're alike like this and they're different like that. And there's no right or wrong answer. You just have to do your logical thinking. Stay away from plagiarizing. Can't say that enough. Narrowing the time frame. I did mention that for fashion, I've noticed that students who like fashion and study it quite often will take the multiple decades and they'll give a little history, a paragraph for each decade, and that has worked out well. They will see how women are evolving and their clothing evolves with them. But for almost every other topic, you have to take a specific decade. You can't say that January 1st, 1900 is the same as December 31st, 1999. But if you tell me you're comparing the 20th century, that is what you're telling me. So narrow those decades down. Now, Friday discussion is all about whether you're going to choose alternating or block style for this major paper. I will comment on each outline if you get it in by Friday at midnight. Especially, the sooner you do this, the better. You're not going to lose points for doing this incorrectly. This is a practice session. And remember, you don't put your real outline on. I'll have to delete that immediately. I don't want any plagiarism from other students copying your outline. Okay? I want you to use a different topic. Nothing on the 13 that are for the choice for the essay. And obviously not Ford versus Volvo, because that's what I did for the sample. You've seen this before. You know that Dr. Kelly keeps a plagiarism database. It covers the entire college, South Campus, Center Campus. It's not just for writing classes, it's for any class. You plagiarize in any class, and your name will get into that database, and that can haunt you for the rest of your life. So you do not want to plagiarize. Formal writing. I'm still getting people who have these extra layers where they talk to the reader and tell the reader what they think the reader is thinking and all of that. No, it isn't things like, I think it's important to note that. No, you just start with your key point. If you're using I and me and you and your, you got to revise that sentence. And I'm still getting those contractions. I still get moms and kids instead of mothers and children. No informal language, no abbreviations, none of the, the VS for versus. Spell it out. Paragraphing, you know you need the topic sentence and the relevant details. Only one central idea in a paragraph. Those paragraphs have to be unified. Here's how you do this assignment. Start by choosing your topic and then your time frame, which decade or possibly fashion decades. Decide on your outlining style, alternating points or block style. Do the Friday discussion early. Don't do your outline for your essay. That will be deleted immediately as soon as I see it, because you can't tell other students how to set up the outline. You will outline the assignment. You'll write the rough draft. You'll give it to me as soon as you can. You know, if you put it in after midnight on Saturday, it will be deleted without me looking at it, and you will not earn the 5 points. You will submit the final essay by Saturday in week 6 because it's 30 points a day. It's a 300-point assignment. You've seen this about the formatting. You know I hate that Calibri 11. We are reading hundreds of pages each week. If you don't use Times New Roman 12, your essay just doesn't make the right impression. It is very hard to read that font. Now, type the contact information against the left margin. Know that your left hand is different than your right hand. Put it against the left margin. A lot of you are still having some trouble, not a lot, but maybe 5% of you, with your before and after spacing. You don't know how to double space. You've got it set to 10 and multiple rather than 0 and double. Don't use auto. That's different from 0. And a few of you are still hitting the enter key. That makes it very hard to use track changes, so stop doing that. And you know this assignment is worth 300 points. It's your final writing exam, so I can't write it for you, but I can make sure you understand the instructions. So whether you prefer to call or write or both, I will be happy to help you. And good luck with essay number 5.